We're gonna keep playing. Episode 4, Twisted Karma and His Last Bow. Second November, 12:33 p.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Oh, there you are, Odo. What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes, Gina. You sure about what you said in here? That's the boss, you know. Actually died the day before? It's pretty hard to swallow. Yes, I was shocked by the revelation too, Gina. As was I, possibly more shocked than both of you. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. I was more shocked than all of you put together. This is the autopsy report in question, isn't it? Yeah, it's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose there's a simple explanation, or perhaps it was a deliberate omission? Oh dear. If it was deliberate, it puts me in mind of the last case we worked on. Dr. Scythe. I know. Anyway, it seems that on the day before Lord Van Zykes discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the red-headed leak, so perhaps something happened with him. Come to think of it, you had trouble with those leak men too, didn't you? Mr. Sholmes, you were taken in by their trick. No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in, as you put it. My sleuth-hound interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. That scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose. The two criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? Mr. Sholmes' sweep, I mean. That's right, Suze. And it was me what took him in. Thanks to the tip-off of a good old law-abiding citizen. Indeed, yours truly. It's gonna be that pair in the witness stand next, is it? Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had trouble with the red-headed leak yet, had you? Why would the inspector have been investigating them? Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuth-hound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. Don't tar him with the same brush as you, Sholmes. Yeah, well, then there's the whole issue with Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zykes for some reason. The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, the Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zykes. No problem, Kingimus. And Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we arrived at this point somehow. I think you're right. What are you really trying to achieve here today? Unveil all the conspiracies, of course. All the answers will soon be revealed. Observe the time, my dear fellow. This recess will be over very shortly. Yeah, you're right. Cosmo was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial, and was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? Isn't it also a conflict of interest to be friends with the prosecutor? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Are you ready then, Mr. Sato? Yes. Okay, again. Okay. It's the 2nd November, 1 p.m. at the Old Aunt Bailey courtroom. I think she is ready. In the name of Her Majesty, the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court hearing of Eric Van Zykes, here present, who stands accused of murder. Now then, Prosecutor Asogi. Lord, have you summoned the witnesses as requested? Yes, the two members of the Redhead League who planned and carried out the deception. They arrived not long ago from the local prison by police carriage. Very good. Bailiff ushered the two men into the courtroom. Alright, let's see what happens. Uh-oh, too creepy. It's noodles. Baguettes. These two men are currently being held by the police on suspicion of attempted extortion. You may omit your occupations, but state your names now for the court. I am Fabien de Russo, a descendant of the great de Russo family from Nice in France. And my name is Peppino de Rossi. I'm the third son of the great Familia de Rossi, the landowners from Napoli. Rudica says, do you think this Kazuma could take Kazuma and Tekken in a fight? Maybe, if he's allowed to use a sword, possibly. Alright, the two men first became acquainted at a boarding school for European nobility. Those who graduate from Demtik are the future leaders of Europe. But, do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with this noble blood? Hello. I make it my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little gray cells of my brain. That is all I'm trying to do, huh? So, that's the only reason for this whole grand deception you've been carrying out? Oui, you could say that. Not bad, eh? He has the grand ideals, but the petty plans. This strange combination is the charm of the hilarious brothers. Ridiculously says De Russo gives off Hisoka vibes, which I don't know what that is. Listen to me, Peppino. I have two things to say to you. Chef, are you about to tell me about your grand anecdotes? Viva! Firstly, I want to tell you to stop calling me this capo. And secondly, we are not the hilarious brothers. This is serious business. Dip below. There it is, the capo's trump card. The furrowed brow. I can't tell if De Rossi is Italian, though. I might Italian or French do. Defer the meaning of your words. The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Redhead League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is this true? Oui, c'est ça. And what exactly was the nature of this deception which you plan to defraud? Hello, I will explain it. No, Capo, leave it to me. As you see, we both have a vivid red hair, no? At the school, we were teased for this without pity. Look, the Capo here, was many times behind the schoolhouse trying like the Trevi Phantom. Well, those dogs, one day the world will respect us redheads. Every night he would bury his head in his pillow. Say, Ben Peppino, enough. I will explain the rest. The first step was the newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London. Yeah, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled To the Red-Headed League. Oui, c'est ça. I'm honored that you have seen it. It states the only condition for joining the league is having flame-colored hair, and that if you satisfy the interview panel and are admitted into the league, you could receive a weekly income of £4. A the date specified, red-headed hopefuls gathered in droves at the park specified in the advertisement, and from each person present, this pair took an application fee of 5 shillings. It was the money to France. Was the plan most elegant, no? No, it was most dishonorable. But to be frank, I'm stunned anyone was foolish enough to be taken in such an obvious trick. Mark was described by one witness as a choked with red-head folk like Foster's orange barrow. And on the day all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these two men spoke face-to-face with every single person present that day. I've seen more red-headed people in one day than I will see in the rest of my life. See. And now, every time I see couples here, I feel sick to my stomach. Anyway, why have we been summoned here today? Sorry? The date of our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told. Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. They've only been showed this photograph. Very good. So, Mr. Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi, you will now give your formal testimony to the court. On the subject of the gentleman pictured in this photograph. Of course, we were always ready to help with the law. Here we go. Man in the photograph. We add more than 1,000 red-headed people. But I don't recall this man in this photograph, eh, Capo? No, I don't remember him. Obvious. He's dead now. But I assure you, he was not in the park. Aloha, this victim is nothing to do with us. You have a lot to answer for, Pepino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. So they're denying anything. Okay. Can you be certain? I am quite certain. We did not interview this man. Nobody looking like this came to the park. This I can promise. It must be noted that you have been arrested for a grand deception, however. Accordingly, this board has little confidence in your assurances. Huh? Oof, with this attitude, we get to nowhere, huh? He's really insulting now. This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry in its inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads, Lime Street, Red-Headed League, undercover. Ah, I have the answer. Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh? That's ridiculous. No question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, which means it's quite possible that that was when he was killed. He was killed before the event. He was able to make it. Very well. The defense may proceed in the cross-examination now. Yes, my lord. Alright. I wonder if we have any new evidence yet, though. Yeah, had more than 1,000 red-headed people. Let's present first. Just take a look. Yeah, we have no new evidence. Alright, let's press people at the Lime Street. Hold it! 1,000 people. That's a very big crowd. It was a spectacle. Redheads had come from all over the capital. See? The capo here. He has a magnetismo animale, eh? Nobody else could attract so many people. If I could be bored again, I would be the capo. All those people wanted was the money, Peppino. The £4 per week. Objection. Are you suggesting you spoke personally with 1,000 applicants? That's what we did. Because every one of them paid us 5 shillings. These two too, Seabass. We take their names and we take their money and we take their address as well. Then I tell them we take some days to let them know by a post. Finito. Maybe 2 mini Nudie, a person? We start early in the morning, we stop late at night. So you earned 5,000 shillings in one day? That's a small fortune. Who would have thought there were 1,000 such gullible redheads in London to start with? One of whom was a great detective with chemically altered hair. But I don't recall this man, this photograph, Capo?
Hold it!
He doesn't look at all familiar? No, I don't think so. This is a wig, eh? He's trying to trick us. I do not like the people who are trying to trick the other people. There's con artists. If between them, when they interviewed 1,000 people with red hair, it would be unreasonable to expect them to remember every face. No, no, senor. I may be small, but my memory is very large. I never forget a thing. In my opinion, I do not think this man was in the pot. He's not going to give the court a definite, it seems. Hey, Capo, you didn't see a man like this, huh? No, I don't remember him, and obviously he's dead now, but I assure you, he is not in the park. How come? But according to what you said, you spoke with 1,000 or more people that day. Wait, that's true? My eyes were burning in the end of the day. Surely then, you can't actually remember every single face. How are you so certain that this particular man wasn't present? Normally, the redhead is very distinctive, eh? But not when you have 1,000 redheads crowding around. That's when it's just an eyesore. But if there was some other information you could have given us, maybe then we would recall. That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we do not remember. We are not sure of that fact. If there was a man with a red hair piece, but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think I would have forgotten him. Asuma said these two only had been shown a photograph and they told us nothing else at all. What if I fed them with just one more detail? The victim, for example. Yes, fish and chips. I mean... No, let's do the fish and chips. I certainly appreciate you just knowing the man had red hair who would help you remember the situation. What if I told you that the man was always munching on a packet of fish and chips? You remember the man who was eating incessantly? Not really. I was looking only at the edge of the... I wouldn't have noticed the fish and chips anymore than the caviar and smoked salmon. Or a spaghetti. Me, I love the spaghetti. Really? I had no idea. Tell them again what you said before, Peppino. Si, capo, si. I say it again and again. Allora, this victim has nothing to do with us.
Hold it!
How about this? But we only have your word for that. See, but what else can we do, huh? True. Oof, we're not having much of fun these days. First we are arrested, then we are shown the horrible picture of a dead man. Now you question every single thing we say. We are the victims here. Hey, Capo? No, you were caught carrying out a plot to swindle hundreds of innocent people. You had to bring that up, eh? It's not fair. Hey, Capo? You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got answered caught in the first place.
Hold it!
I don't know, all of the above. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Cavallo, you promised not to say, eh, Capo? I mean, they ended O's, so this probably is an Italian, and this is a French. After we had taken all the monies that day, we should have left the country. Because he said allo, which is French, so I would think French and Italian. That was my plan. I left the purchasing of the tickets for the ferry to Dunkirk to my companion here. Hey, Black Belt, good to see you. We are playing some Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and so in Matthew USA, welcome to the stream. We just finished some programming, coding bootcamp to help one of our friends along, and so now here we are. So we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, yeah. Does it show up? not showing up. By the TGAAC, that's the game. But Ibadum on Zirunge. So we're investigating two criminals who tried to swindle 1,000 people into getting a future payment, but they had to pay a fee to get that payment, and so people got scammed. Oops. Gee, but it's an easy mistake to make. The 31st. Ooh, I have no sympathy for you. We were an old day late on boat because of your stupidity. It is only because the so-called great-headed detective got us. Great-headed detective? That's it. Suspicious. He knows what I think. This is the work of God, a holy punishment, eh? Pepino, was the last time. This is not holy punishment. This is only your fault. Ah! Don't blame God for your unholy mistakes. Maybe I make a mistake, but when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is the faster. I've seen the evidence. Okay. They haven't told us much they didn't already know. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, if it was the inspector's diary, it seemed likely that he must have gone to Lime Street that day, and yet these two both claim they didn't see it. I have to say, they don't appear to be telling lies. Yet they're experts in deception, don't forget. Sounds plausible in their specialty. They may be lying simply to avoid being implicated in this case as well. Surely, if they were truly experts in deception, they wouldn't have been caught. Well, yes, you do have a point there. It seems to me like there's more information. Yeah, so I think there's something more to add on the fourth point in the cross-examination. Third. Press this. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna skip ahead to submitting extra evidence. Maybe his name? I can certainly appreciate that. Just knowing that the man had red hair wouldn't help you in the situation. What if I told you that the man's name was Gregson? The man in the photograph is a Monsieur Gregson? Yeah. Names, they're boring. I did not listen to any of them. Oh. It was not a real name for you, huh? It's just for a show. Why would I remember the names? That's right. This changes nothing. The man in the photograph was not there, and we've already said. I see. But didn't they say they took down all their names? It seems there's little to be gained from pursuing this point further. Tells them again what you said before, Pino. Si, capo, si. I say it again and again. How about his profession?
Hold it!
Try one more time. Boop a doop a doop 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 dap 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 doop doop doop. His profession. I certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you in this situation. If I told you the man in the red hair piece was actually a detective. The man in the photograph was a detective? Yes. It would appear he found your notice in the paper suspicious and decided to investigate. Sorry, but this is nothing. Pursuing. Excuse me. Something to add, Mr. De Rossi? Yeah? See? I'm always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper. What I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance? What did he just say about the detective? Yes, that. Keep your mouth shut, Pepino. You have said enough already. What do I, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I'm an inspector of Scotland Yard. What? Uh-oh, that means he must have been at the event. How dare I? Order. Explain the volte-face in your testimony, witness. It's simple. A man who was at the park said to us that he was an inspector. There was no such man. Ah. We don't use that word. What are you saying, Capo? Have you gotten A? I've forgotten nothing. Nobody likes his game to the park. Basta, capo, basta. Is that a bad word too? You beat me at many things, but not two, the memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is that faster. But you're inferior to me in every other way.
Objection!
Uh, too slow? Very slow? The damage is done. Indeed it is, sir. We. There was a man who came at the park and said he was an inspector from Scotland Yard. There. Aristotle says, so if you replace the word citizen with slave in Rousseau's book, hilarious and the meaning doesn't change. I mean, isn't that the gist of what God said about having a king and then being a citizen of the kingdom? Alright. He looked nothing like the man in the photograph, he was someone else. How can you be so sure? Because, to start with, his face was completely different. See, it's true, it's true. The man who came was younger. His face was clean shaven. His eyes were sadder, his chin was thinner. His resembling whatsoever. Anyways, I was not going to be fooled, and I took the obvious precautions and said to him, if you are really a detective, show us the proof. See, it's a capo here. The capo here, he doesn't take no nonsense. But he was well prepared. He said he had identification. Okay, that should be proof. You mean official police inspector's identification? That is most unconvincing. Sorry, Miller? Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question. Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity? Clearly, his papers were fake. Decto! Capo, you are a genius. Aristotle says, yeah, but Rousseau even goes deeper. I see. As we say in Italia, it takes a thief to recognize another egg. What happened after he announced that he was a detective? He became very annoying. He said, you are under investigation. So I took his papers from him and chased him out of his park. It was fantastico. And look, here's that identification. You stole it from the man? He had it coming. He made us very scared. But he was not who he said he was. Indeed, the person described does not appear to behave like a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence. Yep, this is a bit different because there's a lot new mechanics going on. Huh. But I like them. Alright, let's take a look at the papers. Maybe we could push through what exactly is going on. Take a look. I mean, this looks legit. Plus, we'll see what this inspector ID looks like. I mean, looks legit to me. Definitely looks fake. Oh, it's fake apparently? Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson. What? What? Scotland Yard insignia. It looks genuine to me. But how? The department identification number details are correct as well. Since when do you know those? Do you mean to say, I know it seems incredible, but yeah, I think this is a genuine identification book in Scotland Yard. That's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all? Yeah. Alright. Is there anything else behind? So... don't remember the man in this photograph. He's dead. He's not in the park. The victim has nothing to do with us, but they have the victim thing.
Objection!
So we have some sunlight coming into my room. I wonder if I could ask you this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade? Why, Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, Counsel? Is this really Flake or is it genuine? That's the question, which we can't answer for ourselves. Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen. That is the boss. No question about it. As I suspected, the undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League's enrollment of the day in question was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation. The question is, was it stolen for the day? And did he die before the day, or was it actually Gregson? Order. But if the boss said his identification is stolen, he would have reported it straight away. I mean, he's always on at me about it. If you lose this somewhat, report it at once, he'd say. Could it be then that the inspector was physically unable to report it? Physically? Hey, are you saying? Unable to? You're not suggesting. Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had a chance to report. The identification was stolen. Order. The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that? I know nothing. I done nothing. Pull yourself put together, Peppino. You can't behave a little more like a master criminal than that, no? Now I wish I had returned to Italia. Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, I... Boom, stop your whining and start talking. Well, I believe the court will need to hear your story. I know nothing, I done nothing, Okay, but you'll tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome. Oh yeah? Well, they're pretty good. I just think that, you know, the topics are a bit like PG-13, you know, people die and stuff, and there's scary, there's guns and blood, and so, but if you like a mystery and visual novel, this game is solid. I think this game specifically, however, the writing is more simplistic overall, but not overally, it's not that bad either. Yeah, this game is very well. All of the games were very Japanese, but this one it takes place in Britain, so they have like cross-cultural moments and stuff. You will dry your eyes and testify again about these identification papers and the precise circumstances under which you came by them. Ooh, for crying out loud, literally. Alright, here we go, testifying. The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day. We took the man's identification from him and shut him in the room next to ours. There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. We spent the night in an ice room and it was nothing like prison. What? Okay. So they treated him well? You imprisoned the man? But no, see, no. It was not like a prison. It was a very comfortable and a calm and a happy. A couple. It was never part of my plan, I swear. Oof, so you think it wasn't my fault, eh? Just because I got the date from the ferry wrong by one little day. I do not think it was your fault, Peppino, I know it. No, per favor, Capo, it's not affair. We shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen. Oof, I don't believe this. How could it? We've been a real detective. That's for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination. On the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined with his pair's hideout. This is the truth is, prisoner, yeah, okay. Do you realize what you're saying? I have to believe me, I never intended that to happen, but I sure as a detective did not intend it either. You think? But there's nothing else I could do. See, nothing else. It was the first crime for the couple. It was at the end of his wits. I've told you before, Peppino, that just sounds a way to describe a criminal mastermind. What about this hideout of yours? The old empty house behind the park on Lime Street. We rented the place for 2 days. It was an inspired idea by the couple here. An impulsive idea, I would say. No, not impulsive, inspired, eh, couple? What am I supposed to say to that, Peppino? And it wasn't the house described as you can find Inspector Gregson, wasn't it? Was it? We have to remember I was under the impression that he was a pretender, not a real inspector. That doesn't quite add up, though. If you didn't think the man was a real inspector, there would have been no reason to take him prisoner, would there? No, you're right, but we couldn't be completely certain. I have no idea what rice fish brick is. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. I took the man's identification. Okay, we're gonna press this one first.
Hold it!
Too scared? Why? Because why had he come to the park? We didn't know. There was a chance he had seen through my plan. And if that was the case, he would go straight to the police and blow the whistle on us. Even if he was just feigning to be an inspector, he was up to no good, without a doubt. I think most people would agree that it's you two who are up to no good. Well, see, you may be right. Right, couple? The point is, we were not able to escape from England immediately, that's why we had no choice but to take the man prisoner. What I don't understand is why the inspector felt the need to show you his identification in the first place. See, I asked myself the same question. We were writing down the names and addresses of lots of people and took 5 shillings on that day. We've forgotten what name he said, but the address, it startled me. TC address, Scotland Yard, Homicide Division, he said. What? Probably didn't like your face, Peppino. Anyway, I was not rude, I just politely asked him why he had said it. And that's when he started to say he was an inspector. Not long afterwards, he took out his identification. What was Inspector Gregson playing at? Tell the court what happened next. We took him back to your hideout, say. See, we did it. We took the man's identification and shut him in the room next to ours.
Hold it!
That being this identification book here, correct? See, that is the one. What made you believe that it was a forgery? I'd never seen a real one, of course. But you were so suspicious this man. Laura, I was thinking it must be falso. Ay, capo. It was just the pepinos just as said. We were convinced it was not genuine. And so together, hilarious brothers, we took the man captive. All we did was shove him inside a locked room. Then we made the preparations to transport all the money. In for a penny, in for a pound. It might have been a little tussle. We did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? Well, it was nothing. It was just a minor incident. The fossil inspector used a real piece of the work. Hey, Capo, what happened? It was a disaster. We gave him a nice broom, and what he does to do. In the middle of the night, he tries to escape it through the ventilator. Can you blame him? We chased him, fair sir, and we caught him again. Can you blame us? Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? What do you think we are? Of course not. I simply caught hold of him again and took him back to the room.
Excuse me.
Excuse me? Wow, Aristotle, that sounds pretty good. Mr. DeRossi, is something wrong? Hey, me? Something Mr. DeRusso said seemed to make you, well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What's that all about? Ah, Cavallo, at times like that, you don't want to have a capo after you. Believe me, I speak from a person, experienza. Matthew USA says, have they ever done full voice acting in any of these games? I believe in cutscenes, they sometimes have. I think they might have some voice acting, but overall, I think rarely. They have like little exclamations that are voice acted, but overall, I think usually just sound effects. This is enough, Pino. There's no need to say more. Truth is, the night before we put a red-headed plan into action, I was scared it was not fair to the capo, but tried to run away. It's a shame didn't manage it. But the capo here, he came after me like the turbine, huh? And he dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have a bruises to prove it, I capo. Bruises, you say? You wanna see him? You wanna see my fantastical bruises? That's enough, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you. What to do? I show you. I don't. I show you, or I don't. You do now. Laura, if everybody wants to see it, then I do it. Echo, you see? Still very visible, eh? That red ring around your neck? Got that when you were dragged back to the house? See, the capo sometimes is very rough, and that's enough. Venus' neck has nothing to do with what we were talking about here. Yeah, my word. Yes, what is your opinion, Council? About this red ring about Mr. Narusso's neck? I wonder, does it matter? Let's see the court record. Say it's important. I don't know. Mr. DeRozzi, we're gonna have to ask you to amend your testimony with the details that mark on your neck. Hi, Capo, you see? Everyone is interested in what I say, huh? We were digging him into a hole. Very well, you will amend your testimony. Please see, if you really want to know. Try to escape. But the couple put a collar on him and dragged him back like what he did it to me. Place a collar.
Hold it!
That's a big deal. Are you saying that the red mark was caused by... See, a big collar made from a leather. A leather collar? It is true, Mr. DeRusso. What? We had a Saint Bernard at home when I was younger. It is a souvenir from that time with a very strong chain. Strong chain? And you put that around your friend's neck? I'm sorry, I was so angry that he was leaving me alone. You did not have to tie the chain to the leg of the bed, though. I would not have tried to run again. You didn't do that to Inspector Gregson as well, did you? Treat the people equal. It's Capo's here's motto, eh? It's starting to sound a lot more like a prison of all of a sudden. But Capo is the tough. Capo is the rough. I shouldn't have done it. So the following morning when you released the inspector, he had a red ring around his neck. Just like a me. Pepino, s'il vous plaît, leave it now. Now you know, the capo here, you don't want to tangle with him, eh? Before the inspector, it's not so bad. Spent the night in the nice room. It was nothing like the prison, really.
Hold it!
Took away the man's freedom. However comfortable you make it sound, you were still holding him prisoner. If you say that, then I say this. There's something that takes away our freedom too, the lack of money. We're prisoners as well, huh? All of us. Huh? No money, no freedom. This is the truth. It makes me mad. It makes me sad. But what can we do? Well, if you feel so disenfranchised, take money to court. Though, it'll cost you, of course. There you have it. And that's why we need the Red-Headed League, to fight for the justice. It's closer. Feel the sun shining on my face. Perhaps he has a point. No, Mr. Naruhodo. All we did was to give a man a comfortable place to sleep for the night. And as you say, it was a prison, huh? Perhaps he has a point again. No, again, Mr. Naruhodo. You should have heard him snoring. If anyone was disturbed, it was us. Not much to go on, really. The testimony does make me wonder, you know. About this pocket watch belonging to the inspector, I mean. The one he treasures so much, apparently. Though he was confined but not restrained, as the witnesses were implying, he would have still been able to wind his watch. So did Inspector Gregson actually die while he was being held captive by the Redheads? In which case, it's possible that these two young men are responsible for Inspector Gregson's? To be honest, I find that hard to believe. Perhaps we should try to find out exactly what happened. Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo, yes. Uh-huh. Try to escape, but... Uh-huh. Let's present his neck.
Objection!
The day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. It was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was only... However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains. What inconsistency is this, counsel? I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson. You'll see. There's no red ring visible around his neck. Yeah, but that makes no sense. It was me who took the collar off the man in the morning, and I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have. Given that the mark is clearly visible on this witness's neck, we'd expect bruising on the victim who was put in the collar more recently than Mr. DeRusso. Rossi. Indeed, that is most peculiar. What can we tell you? We say this from the beginning, many times. Maybe Peppino is right. The man in the photograph is someone different from the man we held captive that night. Wow. So, they captured a person who took Inspector Gregson's ID. I mean, it's kind of clear from reading between the lines. Order, order, order. It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as the incognito inspector is not Inspector Gregson at all. If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? It's a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. Inconceivable someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made that assertion itself. And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the Red-Headed League in his diary for that day, which surely means we can't divorce the two events completely. The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson from these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation. But equally, if they actually encountered an imposter, how did that person come into possession of the real ID? Does the defense have some plausible explanation? Yeah, it's kind of obvious, actually. For precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record. Those are the facts, and facts can't lie. Okay. Well, the true identity of the person is revealed by the information by the court record, I believe. Okay. Let's present some cool evidence, right? Who was the inspector that appeared? An imposter, yeah. Though it seems incredible, I admit, the undeniable facts point that only one thing. As no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck. The person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day couldn't have been Inspector Gregson. Yep, this game is Ace Attorney Chronicles. Action, yeah. Ace Attorney Chronicles! Yeah. The voice thing is not... It's supposed to pop up. The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. There we go. Put up. How am I doing? Doing well. We just did some code troubleshooting with ACIRL, and now we are playing some Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, yeah. And then after this, we're gonna have to... Oh, hey Seal, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Just playing some of this on the Monday, and if you guys didn't know, if you guys are interested, this month we're actually doing a giveaway every weekday. Giveaway. The giveaway. There we go. So, here are the rules. You must be following, you must be in the chat, you must have a Twitch account older than 6 months, you must have not been banned by me in any of the other chats I moderate, and then you type the secret word that I give you during the stream, and then we will spin a wheel for small prizes on all of the days until mid-August, where we will spin for a large prize, and then also another large prize at the end of August for the last weekday. I see. So the giveaway includes 3 games of Terraria keys, 3 Midas Adventure keys, 3 Corgi Cove keys, 3 Tinykin keys, and 3 Mago keys. And then 6 album codes from my music or from from my music. So from OS Booter, which is my older project, and Yoshi OST, which is my recent project. And then we also have large prizes which require knowing your home address. So if you're not comfortable with that, we can always spin for a smaller prize or for Twitch sub. So that means every day there there might be a Twitch sub. Yeah. So, to resolve the prizes, you have to make sure you have a Steam account if you win a Steam gift, and then you'll have to add me on Steam. And then, yeah, if you don't like the prizes, then the prize will be rolled over to the next day. So how it works is we're gonna roll for the name, and then we'll roll for the prize. So once the game is rolled for, it's locked in for that day. And so then the next day, that same prize will be given away with whatever. Maybe we won't lock in the prize for the if it rolls over, and then we'll yeah, and then yeah, essentially we'll run the wheel, and then this giveaway does not apply to Quebec and anywhere where this type of giveaway isn't allowed. So that's the rules. And so the large prizes are a T-shirt or a cup from the merch store, and then or a book from Joffrey Swaite, Made in the Image, which is a poem collection, and it's just good. And so I wanted to share it. All right. Yeah. And okay, so let's close the giveaway information. Yeah, there we go. In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time. Yeah, that's okay.
Objection!
We're objecting. On the contrary, I haven't finished. What? There's no bruising on the victim's neck. So the question immediately posed next is, who exactly is this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification? So, yeah. What was I saying? So on Monday and Tuesday, I usually have an extra stream later on in the day compared to the morning streams. So I will be playing this game, Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, as well as Tinykin on Tuesdays until whatever. And then we'll also be running a game jam on the 10th to the 17th. And so if you're interested, just direct message me if you're interested in the game jam, and we'll hook you up. And we might do some announcements during the game jam times of the giveaway as well. So giveaway, go back. Giveaway. No giveaway. There we go. So yeah, those are the days where we might have a later drawing for the prize. And so yeah, most of the streams will be in the mornings at 6 EST. And then we'll run the wheels at the end of the stream. And if people aren't in the chat when I run the wheel, like aren't able to enter the word, then they're not qualified for the day. And we'll just respin the wheel one more time with new people. All right. Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna wake up early, and if you're in PST, you're gonna wake up at 3. All right. Who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification? See, that's right. We tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, the capo dragged him from a pillar to a post with a dog collar. Oh. Pepino, it was not so harsh as you say, huh? So who was that? I've also Inspector, eh? Who was he? Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man Elise two imprisoned that night. I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate. Post haste. Okay, who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing? Well, we have to look at the next. Oh, definitely gossip has a thing in present. Goodness, isn't that? One of the witnesses who was in the stand this very courtroom earlier today. A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passers-by. What on earth would a street seller be doing with the police inspector's identification papers? Well, clearly he killed someone. Witnesses, is this man or not? That's what has happened to his lip. See, this man is not for the red-headed league, eh? He's looking for the twisted league. Lip league, no? Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead. It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noticed something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising. Uh-huh. The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand. Order, order. Bailiff. Bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom at once. Immediately. Alright. What happened to his lip? Sheesh. Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising. Identical to that of the witness beside him. Now what's going on here, eh? I've always had this me. It's a birthmark, isn't it? A birthmark, you say? I assume the reason you being recalled to the stand has been explained to you, eh? Hey, I'm somewhat about the inspector again. And I'm telling you, you got it all wrong as usual. You're denying all knowledge of it? Well, of course I am. Are you trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh? Well, at least you have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. You, Mr. DeRusso, and Mr. Gerasio, I'm sure you'll cooperate, wouldn't you? Do we have any choice? We're in bigger trouble, eh, Capo? That's quite enough dilatory chatter. Let's go. Proceed. Tell me. The man who claimed to be an inspector that day was definitely not this man. He's right, see. You think we'd forgotten these grand lips, eh? I never leave Fresno Street, alright. I'm not interested in any redheaded lead. I'm all alone in the world. Me, I have no kinfolk or nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that? Just look at me, or hey, does it look like I would carry off disguise in its face like this? But what if the lips are a new development? What I've been telling you, there's no need for this pointless testimony. That's right, I'm just a simple peddler, remember? Fresno Street's all I know. How would I come by a police inspector's identification book, eh? Yeah, that's hard to explain, but he did happen to be in the scene of the crime, right? Okay. Isn't there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be onto something? I stand steadfastly at your side always, Mr. Naruto. Alright, come on. Get on with it.
Hold it!
Definitely not this man. But as you say, how can you be quite so certain? There's no need to hurt your hands on the desk, monsieur. Surely, there's a reason is obvious, no? Because I've never before seen his lips like this. Nevertheless, there's a clear red mark around Mr. Gossip's neck, and it looks very much like the left behind on the neck of your colleague by your prized collar. Here's your words, it's like you tried to wring my neck. It does look very much like my neck, though, eh? No, this is a birthmark, lad. Big slips in London and a neck to die for. Hey, they broke the mold. They made me. It's the first time in my life. I feel lucky to have been born with red hair. I thought being Japanese made you stand out in London. So you maintain you've never seen this man before? Oui, c'est ça. I swear by it. Swear to it by the flames of my hair. Okay. That's right, see? You think we would forget these grand lips, huh?
Hold it!
Well, yes, I don't imagine you forget these lips in a hurry either. That's what I'm saying. For some reason, it makes me want to eat. How did Fabian call it? An eclair? You know, I've never seen the air as black as yours before either. Likewise, I've never seen red hair like yours until I came to Britain. See, maybe a national trait, eh? Maybe also people from this, a man's country, have a grand lips. No, lad, I was born right here on Fresno Street, and I've never left. Ugh, that was wrong. That's the problem, you see. You definitely didn't go to the park on Lime Street that day, Mr. Gossip? Now, how many times do you want me to say it, eh? I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I've no interest in any redhead Lee. Right. Oh,
Hold it!
so you'd heard of the redheaded Lee, have you? You don't get a name like Gossip for nothing, eh? It's my business to know what's off. I told the taste tidbit to a fair few redheads that came past me. Just between us, he even got Sandwich to cough up for it. Well, he does have a very red nose, that counts. Who knows? As you can see, my own hair has not got a hint of red in it. In any case, Fresno Street's my patch. You don't catch me sidling off to some other part of town. No, sir, not likely.
Excuse me!
Excuse me? Mr. DeRusso. Me? Can I help you? Did Mr. Gossip's words now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps? It was the other day when I was looking for a place near the park, a small house or something. The headquarters of your Redhead League, yes? I visited an housing agent on Lime Street and there I saw him. This man was paying money to the agent. My... Mr. Gossip? With a housing agent? Wait, he had some kind of contract with Julius and they were clearly discussing terms. But no, you're mistaken, chum. I never left Fresno Street. Me, like I said before, you mistaken me for someone else. Someone with the same face. No, the capo was right. I remember it too. He was paying a man with the banknotes. With notes? Like I said, that wasn't me. I was curious why this man was with dirty clothes had so much money. But look at the name on the papers, and what name was written? Mr. Gossip? No, this man, he lies. He tells you that he has no name, but in fact, his name is Hugh Boone, huh? It's better than Mr. Gossip, I think, see? No! He doesn't want to be called that. I'm a peddler of tidbits of information, like I said, on Fresno Street, and that's that. I don't much like talking about my personal life. Indeed. And it's not the intention of the court to invade the privacy of a witness. Very well. I shall respect your wishes, sir. The aforementioned name shall be redacted from all court records of this trial, assuming no objection?
Objection!
Oh, I'm objecting, alright. I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object. Because the name just mentioned has a very deep significance to this case. Your graces, do you similarly object, Prosecutor Asugi? As it happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings. Or never, in what capacity? You, Boone, the name, the leaseholder of the room. Let me put this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room. I suggest, sir, that you started talking. Well, alright. I suppose that might be the case, eh? He knows how to strike a pose, that's for sure. Your name is Hugh Boone. Just between us, I don't like to be blown. I like to blow me own trumpet, but there's no finer peddler of tidbits in town. I happen to afford a grubby little room in a falling down backstreet townhouse. You do? And once every 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the agent on Lime Street. I remember now. There were two vulgar redheads in there last time. Eh? If either of us is vulgar, it's not to me. Think again, Pipino. Why didn't you bring this up before? It's like I told you already. I don't like talking about my personal life. I'm a tidbit. I'm a tidbit peddler as far as everyone else is concerned. No fuss. You'll update your testimony to include this most surprising revelation, Mr. Boo. Dun, dun, dun. If I must. The leaseholder Scotland Yard has been looking for since the body was discovered has been here under our noses all along. You rent the room, fellow was found, it's true, or what difference it makes.
Hold it!
So, you live in that room, presumably? No, I don't live there. What do you think? There's no bed, is there? It's just a desk. Then, why would you want to rent it? Well, I don't think I should have to say, really. Then how about the notice board in there? Which was covered top to bottom confidential documents only the police should have access to. No, that board's not mine. The inspector must have brought it along. Only the other bits and bobs that belong to me, the desk, chair, and all that. People don't generally carry enormous notice boards around them. The real question is why did Inspector Gregson killed in there, in your room? Well, obviously, I'm not the faintest idea. I mean, it's causing me no end of bother, to be honest. It seems to me that Mr. Boone, would rather as little known about his room as possible for some reason. Just come across that way, more importantly, knowing that the scene of the crime is actually his room completely changes things. In particular, there's one part of his testimony that's really bothering me now. That's how I'm finally gonna undo this man. I'm all alone in the world, me. I have no kinfolk, no nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that? So you mean you have no family? No, none at all. So I spent my days on Fresno Street peddling tidbits to passersby, hoping just between us, that eventually someone else with lips like mine will come along. I don't think so. You may be right. Anyway, that mark on your neck is just too much of a coincidence for us to ignore. Well, what's a fellow to do then? Don't believe me? We're at an impasse. And there's nothing I can do but flick me lid. It looks like I'm not gonna get anywhere else here, unless I can produce some proof. Basically saying I got dressed up and posed as some fancy inspector, aren't you? Well, it's beyond me how you think I can do that. Just look at me. Does it look like I would carry off a disguise? Could carry off a disguise with a face like this? I think so. That's the extent of their testimony. What's your feeling? Well, undeniable. Those lips. Hard to hide that. Why does this whole disguise idea keep playing in my mind? No kinfolk.
Hold it!
Maybe you could, say, with a mustache, or a beard, or a cover-up that lip. Hey, perhaps. But if I was going to stick someone's fake facial hair to cover up this fine specimen, I'll end up looking like his lordship over there, wouldn't it? Pardon? I assure you my lips are entirely unremarkable. I ask you not to cast such a scrutinizing look in my direction, counsel. Sorry, my lord. Imagination got the better of me there. Well, Inspector Gregson did wear a mustache, of course. You're right, he did. So perhaps he was hiding something himself. I could barely have it in a crumb and a mustache that size. Anyways, the detective we spoke to had no facial hair at all, which this guy has none. See, the capo is right. He is a clean shaven. It seems beyond the realms of possibility that this witness could have disguised himself as the victim. Hey, it does and it is. that. Does it look like I could carry off a disguise with a face like this? Time of death, shot in the chest, color of gun, crime scene. Vixen's pocket watch.
Objection!
Nope. Yeah. You rent a room.
Objection!
Okay, let's get... Maybe, but never this mark. Why does this whole disguise idea keeps playing in on my mind? Steamship ticket. What if it is Mr. Vigil or something?
Hold it!
Whoops. Blah 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 blah. Blah. Aiding and abetting of convict prior to execution. This was on the desk. Let's get the scene of the crime.
Objection!
I'm at a loss. Oh, he has kin. He doesn't.
Objection!
There we go. If you have no kinfolk, as you put it, then explain why this is among the sparse furnishings we found at this photograph in the room. You've been renting this room, and this photograph belongs to you, doesn't it? Well, Mr. Boone dropped pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are. I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler. I keep telling you so. You really don't need to bother with me. Please, just leave me alone. As a man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth is about this man's life has no bearing on this case. Because it simply is not possible he's impersonated Gregson. How can you be so sure? Just look at the man. No amount of disguise would ever hide those unmissable features. But what if we were to look at this the other way around? What do you mean? Yes, Counsel, what do you mean? Well, there's no undenying that Mr. Boone's lips is very prominent. Consider the possibility that his prominent lips is itself a part of an elaborate disguise. And hiding that prominent feature is, in other words, revealing his true face. Would make an utterly impenetrable disguise, wouldn't you agree, Mr. Hugh Boone? I don't know. Witness, what are you hiding the truth from this court? If that's a disguise, then underneath it, his true identity must be... Yes, that's right. There's really only one person he could really be. Mr. Vigil, right? The defense believes it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court. No, please, no. Very well, counsel. What is the true identity of this peddler? This guy.
Take that!
Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, is Mr. Daily Vigil. I don't recall that name, counsel. Who is this Mr. Vigil? It's a name I encountered yesterday, my lord. It has to do with a certain client, Mr. Sholmes. A young gentlewoman who came to the detective asking him to locate her missing husband. The woman in this photograph is, in fact, this is Mrs. Vigil. What? From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. But of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the two red-headed League men. And last night, you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation to testify in this trial. Because we've been led to believe that you, Mrs. Venus, and Mr. Sandwich were all homeless. Being important witnesses in this case, we needed to know where we could find you, of course. And that explains why you have not only been able to return home, but also unable to contact your wife. She's been beside herself with worry, waiting for you at the Vigil's residence. Now, you just hold on a minute. I don't have the first idea. What I'm talking about? Really? It's a simple enough matter to confirm my suspicions. You all have to do is pull off that disguise. No, please. Bailiff, bring soap, a sponge, and a washbowl at once. Mr. DeRusso and Mr. DeRossi will restrain the witness. Oui, my lord. Si, my lord. Uh-oh. Oh, no, stop. Don't. Uh-oh. He's been exposed. His hair's purple? What a shock, what a twist. Oh, we are now seeing your true features, I presume? Lift your head, sir, so the court can see your face. It would appear the defense counsel's assertion was entirely correct. This has all been an elaborate deception. So, witness, tell the court. Have you seen this man before? I don't believe it, but... See, there's no question. This is the inspector we saw in the park. Extraordinary. On the day of the Redhead League enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Gregson who appeared before the Mr. and the Russo and Mr. DeRossi was you, disguised as the inspector, or rather, was you posing as the inspector in no disguise at all. Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barclay Prison. Chief warder? Then, your carrier had promised. Why would you quite possibly have become the future governor of the prison? What on earth have you been doing peddling tittle-tattle on Fresno Street? Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison. 10 years? I'm really dreadfully sorry about all of this. Yes, it's true. I'm Daily Vigil. You're the chief warder at Barclay Prison 10 years ago? Where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from? Boone is the other me. It's a name I invented. Well, evidently there's a great deal under the surface here. I'll try to explain everything. Tell you just how wretched my life has become. As you say, it was 10 years ago that my employment at Barclay Chief Warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. But times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. Desperation one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street. But your wife appears to know nothing of this. She still maintains that you are the chief warder at Barclay Prison. I was utterly determined that my wife didn't know my failings, which is why I never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street, the scene of the very crime we're investigating. Yes, that's right. A place from which I could emerge every morning at 8 as a squalid peddler and transform myself back every evening at 5 into a well-dressed man about town before returning home. That quickly became a daily routine. I was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room, but that explains it. But why on earth didn't you just tell us in the first place? I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons. Without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them. So instead, you decided to conceal your occupation from them? Yes. I made such a terrible mess of everything. Still, one thing doesn't add up. No matter how many tidbits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you could hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison. You have kept your family in comfort despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment. That was all thanks to Inspector Gregson. What? Inspector Gregson? What on earth? It was some years after I had invented Boone and begun my other life as street seller. He, the inspector, that is, recognized me one day. Do you mean the victim was an acquaintance of you? I knew him from my time working at the prison. When he saw what I had become, he was so deeply troubled for me and my family. From that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. Then one day, he asked me if I would carry out a secret assignment for him. Secret? What was it? I was to impersonate the inspector. What? Impersonate him? Wow, what a twist. We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me. Visit Orky's tomorrow and take a statement of the proprietress. It was always something along those lines, surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was. My instructions were to make an impression, to let people know that Inspector Gregson had been at work. And for those services, he had compensated me financially. Button yards, Inspector. Really see really wish his role? What? As I'm sure I need not to point out it's a serious criminal offense, but why? What was the point of you impersonating him? I truthfully do not know. All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions. Now remember, Vigil, I need your solemn word. You don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever. Even if I end up a croaker. In time, he started to bring papers with him to the room as well. It became something of a second office for him. So, in fact, the person who declared himself to be Inspector Gregson of the park on Lime Street was really... Yes, it was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I remained in disguise, and then went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification. It never occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away. Wow. But why did Gregson die? We still don't know what happened. I think people are gonna blame it on him now. That's what Kazuma would do, probably. Well, it would seem this confession completely destroys the defense's case. The sheriff, alright. Explain yourself, Prosecutor Asogi. The learned friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed at another location on the day before his corpse was discovered. At the hands of these two red-headed league men when they were imprisoned. They imprisoned this inspector. But no, that can't be. After all, he wasn't the inspector who went to the park that day. It was me. Oh no. Finally, we have clarity. We had nothing to do with the murder of the inspector. And merci, Monsieur de la Défense, for proving it. Ugh. What are we gonna do? Order, order, order. But indeed appear we have reached a de facto that the witnesses had no involvement in the murder of, as proven somewhat ironically by the defense. I hereby call an end to the cross-examination. Objection, right? What?
Hold it!
Kazuma's gonna keep the court going? With the judge's permission, one more question to the witness. Kazuma? What question, counsel? It concerns the events of 10 years ago. I believe you would have been present at the very significant execution that was carried out at the time. 10 years ago? Execution of the professor. Genshin Natsuki. I want to know exactly what your involvement was. Answer me, man. One moment, counsel. Is this related to the current case? Naturally. It is the prosecution's belief that this case and the events of 10 years ago are inextricably linked. Does the defense concur, counsel? Well, Kazuma, you're not yourself. You're not as calm and collected as usual. Poor Kazuma-sama, no wonder he's acting this way. Mr. Vigil's memories of what happened 10 years ago would tell the tale of Genshin Asugi's last moments. His own father. No, I do understand that. But even so, Kaza, Prosecutor Asogi, do you genuinely believe that this question requires an answer in order to learn the truth behind Inspector Gregson's death? I need you to trust me, please. Okay, very well. Then the defense has no objection. I see. In that case, you will answer the question, witness. Ah, here it goes. The truth is, I remember very little of that time. You've forgotten? I'm sorry to say yes. As I said, I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago. But for some peculiar reason, my memory of the events leading up to that moment is extremely hazy. Maybe it's drugged? Does that not strike you as strange, Mr. Naruto? Well, 10 years ago was a long time, but I've forgotten the reason why he left such an important job? You're right. And not only that, Mr. Vigil's claim contradicts what we already know. The human spirit is a fragile thing, broken all too easily. Which is why we have a tendency to wrap it up for protection. Sorry, the human spirit? I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean. When we experience pain and suffering that we feel unable to bear, we block it out, obliterate it from our memories, seal it away. But it never truly leaves us. If the seal is broken, the memories resurface, and when they do, that fragile spirit may finally be crushed. But I really don't... Kazuma-sama? But if it must be crushed, then so be it. Because the truth will not stay buried. It's coming out one way or another. Right. Now I understand. It's clear what his intentions are. He needs to expose the truth. At any cost. Perhaps if I pointed out the contradiction in Mr. Vigil's claim earlier, it might cause some crucial memories to return to him. Did I? Should I present the evidence or not? Of course. We want the truth. I have no idea how this is gonna go, but it's a court of law, and I have the duty to pursue the truth. Mr. Vigil, I'd like to look at this. Evidence that clearly contradicts your version of events. I need it now. Right, let's see. What did he say? He forgot? Vigil claims something. I resigned from my role at prison 10 years ago for a particular reason. Did he resign from his role? I guess present?
Take that!
Just a few moments ago, you made the following statement. I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago. Well, yes. In other words, you claim to have left the post of chief warder on your own volition. Well, yes, of course. Why? Tell me, do you remember seeing this document before? No, I don't. This is a dismissal notice. ordering the immediate termination of prison staff members' employment. Dismissal notice? And the name on the notice is yours, Mr. Vigil. What? What? It's mine? So you didn't resign from the prison service at all. For some reason, you were dismissed as chief warder from Barclay. Oh, there's some mistake. I'm sure. I'm sure I tendered my resignation. Dismissal notice is nonsense. Oh, isn't it? If you were forcibly dismissed, there must have been a good reason. Clearly, you did something. Mr. Vigil, it's time to break the seal and have you remember. Are we hurting him or something? I hope he's okay. According to the few remaining records, the final execution you supervised was on the 17th June, 10 years ago, and on that day, something very serious took place at Barclay Prison. 17th of June? Well, this dismissal notice said that he's trying to escape him. Emotional damage. The prosecutor's execution? Professor? As you were the chief warder at the time, it stands to reason that you would have been present throughout the proceedings. It does sound familiar. And yet, that execution never took place. And the convict ostensibly executed earlier that day later re-emerged from his grave. The convict came back to life in the cemetery in the middle of the night. There was a witness. However, the witness claims that the moment after he saw the convict clambering out of his grave, a gunshot rang out from over his shoulder, and the bullet pierced the professor's chest, killing him instantly. That owl's eyes glowed. Those may have been the professor's actual last moments. Yes. Seeing as you're in charge of overseeing the executions at the time, you must know the truth. It's in your head, somewhere deep down. Well, Chief Warder Daily Vigil, I know there are memories in your head that can explain what happened. And now it's time for you to drag him up. Mr. Vigil? Is he gonna turn into a different person? The whole prison. It was complete chaos. The prisoner escaped. He was killed in the cemetery. The shocking news ripped through Barclay like a hurricane. What? What? Order. Do you mean to say, Mr. Vigil, your memories of the time have returned? Head, it's like some floodgates have been opened. The images, the screams. Papers. There were reports, articles about a man who'd seen a ghost. Yeah, Enoch Drebber. But surely those reports were exaggerated. There were traces at the scene. Traces of what? In Lowgate Cemetery, the plot number 139, blood, lots of blood. That's where the man was buried, of course. Obviously, something terrible had happened there. The depths of conspiracy and depravity from that which this tale is emerging are quite staggering. I reviewed the police records from that time extensively. A thorough investigation was conducted by Scotland Yard to ascertain how the convict managed to escape in the first place. And the conclusion reached by the investigation team was that a member of the prison staff must have been involved. Are you suggesting a prison warden abetted a man's bid for freedom? Yes, and I was suspected of doing it, using that mass murderer's execution as a way to help him escape. You did what? I remember now, the horror of it all coming back to me. One evening, a few days after the execution, some detectives came to the prison. I was called to the governor's office at the top of the watchtower. He's spinning really fast. I'm sorry, Daly. This is a serious business, but I may help you know. As chief warder, you're responsible for overseeing the execution before, eh? Well, it seems the fellows at Scotland Yard want to have a few wee words with you about it. You'd better pack your things, laddie. You're a attended person. As soon as he told me that, my mind just went completely blank. And the next thing I knew, Professor, the most hated killer in our country's history. And I let him escape? I'm finished. My life. It's over. He jumped out the window. Ah! Okay, that's really scary. Yikes. Order, order. Bailiff, fetch a doctor at once. Court is adjourned for today with immediate effect. To be continued?
So, with Mr. Vigil's collapse, proceedings came to an abrupt end for the day. Once again overshadowed by the legacy of that notorious killer, appearing like a cursed ghost ship on a foggy ocean. Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Vigil.
Kept saying that name
Cosimo,
wrong. Lord
and
Van
Gregson.
Zeeks. Sorry.
All of them bound by invisible chains anchored to the same wreckage in the murky depths of the past. But the miraculous light that had been trying to cut through the gloom and shine on those tragic events was playing on the edges of the truth at last.
We continued. Yeah. Saving your current progress. Alright. Thank you all for watching and hanging out. That was the end of today's gameplay of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We'll have that continue next week.